Next one up is Geert van Meel. Geert van Meel is sitting in the front here. Geert van Meel is one of the two in the art collective Informal Strategies. And Informal Strategies is no stranger to Expodium. We've collaborated on quite a few occasions. You were active during our residency in Kanaleneiland. And then we found out we had a common interest in the changing landscape of a city where certain processes take over the city that are not being planned. So last year when we were invited to curate a day at Spring Festival here in Utrecht, we thought to program this on the idea of falling bottles and urban cannibalism. The presentation Geert was doing over there was titled From Concrete to Less Concrete. And having that one in the back of our mind, thinking about an industrial zone as Werkspoorkwartier, we thought it would be awesome to invite Geert again to extend on this research that you did for that special day at Spring Festival and do a research here in Werkspoorkwartier and be part of that pillar that is called Urban Cannibalism. Did I miss anything in introducing you? Well, thanks then. I'm going to put your photos and leave the talking to you.
All right, great. Hi, everybody. Yeah, so in short, I was invited by Expodium to kind of recap some of the research that I did for Spring, and to connect it somehow to this place, the Cartesiusweg. And my research for in June was actually quite broad, so it involved any ways in which the fabric of our cities, mostly the concrete that we see around us, how it deteriorates over time. It involved many processes that last for a long time, and it started with a very particular processes, and it moves along to more fictive or literal ways of deterioration. So today I thought of actually presenting to you some of the lemmas that I've made for the last time, so the project that I will hopefully do here in July will be a way of becoming more specific, to looking at this specific location of the Werkspoorkathedraal. Already we see in the back how the back wall vanishes, how it opens up and new offices are being built. So this is a way how the architecture of our cities become flexible, how they not only deteriorate, but how they also are changed through processes of erosion, but also of city planning. And I try to look at all these processes kind of in a horizontal way, and seeing what is going on within the very fabric of our cities. So it's not very clear, but I hope you will recognize some of the spots that we sometimes see in the not much trodden places of our cities. So these are lichens, and they are actually the pioneers of deterioration, one could say. So lichens, they grow on natural rock, so we can find them in mountain areas, but they also grow on concrete. And so this is where I will be talking about. Let's see, there are some examples that I brought, and somehow they, let's see if, I don't think all of them are here actually. Sorry, I'm gonna try. What interests me about lichens is that they don't actually live on the concrete. So they don't take nutrients from the concrete. They actually live from air, quite literally. They take the water and the sunlight and small dust particles, and they actually live on this. So they don't deteriorate actually the concrete itself, but they form literally the feeding ground for other organisms. They sometimes are quite reminiscent of the chewing gum that we see on the pavement, but there are many different forms of lichens, and here are a couple of them. They often look like kind of an amorphous crust that grow very, very slowly. But actually they come in many different forms. So lichens are not plants. So the Dutch word for lichens is korstmos, for those the Dutch-speaking part of the public. And they are very interesting because they are not plants. They are actually symbioses of fungus and algae. So here also, these small dots, they are the algae. They are actually plants the size of a cell, and they live together. They have symbiosis with these fungi. So the fungus forms the main body of the lichens. We see the meshwork of the lichen thread of the fungus threads that actually collects the water, that collects the sunlight, and that also form the house for these algae. The algae, as they are plants, through sunlight and carbon dioxide, they create the sugars from which the fungus lives. So this is kind of their symbiosis, and sometimes this symbiosis is so strong that the threads of fungus actually enter the cells of the algae to feed off its sugars. So this is also architecturally, I think, is a very beautiful example. Let me see. So these are the shapes that we usually see on concrete. These are the crustoform shapes. Yeah, so like I said, they don't actually feed on the concrete, but as you can see, they sometimes form small roots that can enter it to hold on to it. And when they die, they form kind of the feeding ground, literally, of other organisms. And where are we now? So the next ones for sure to follow are the roots, the plants. Once they get some ground to live on. So after ice and lichens did the first job, then plants are the first to arrive. And just like the leaves of plants always somehow find the sunlight, they always direct to the sunlight, so do the roots always find those nutrients inside the concrete or inside the rock, and they will slowly tear the whole thing apart and open it up. So they are actually very, very intelligent, one could say, in this way. So, for example, it's not very good to see, but I hope you will notice that there's bricks of the street here, and that the roots, they form this beautiful pattern following exactly these shapes of the pavement, always looking for nutrients and opening it up. So again, this is all part of how our city and the fabric of our city slowly deteriorates over time. This is another beautiful example. This tree makes combinations of squares and octagons without even being able to see its own work. And they are also super strong. So here you see it's like bodybuilders. They're lifting up these whole slabs of concrete and just, breaking up the whole street. Almost like Chuck Norris, I would say. They break through walls and open it all up. And what is interesting about these roots is that they do not only break the whole thing apart, but they also live on the fabric of our cities. So, using water, they when the nutrients are dissolved, So the roots actually take up these nutrients. And these, for example, are nitrogen or phosphorus or potassium. They are taken up by the roots and they then become part of an ecology. So here somewhere within this root there is a transition from city stuff, the stuff that our cities are made of, and somewhere in here it becomes life. So, and then of course when the plant gets eaten or by a bird or by somebody else, then the building, the city becomes part of an ecology of nature. So, and this is a beautiful example of how plants enter our houses when we're not watching. Okay. So the next lemma that I've prepared for you, I've prepared 5, which is part of an endless list. So I'm just cherry picking here, basically. The next lemma that I chose is actually acid. So when I was still in school, everybody was talking about zure regen, so the acid rain and how it deteriorates monuments and buildings. And another example of how acid breaks concrete is in zoutzuur. I think in English it's called muriatic acid. And it is used to clean floors, much like this. So you dissolve this muriatic acid in water, and then when you clean the floor, the acid actually dissolves the top layer of the floor and making it very clean. So I wanted to show the effect on acid of acid on concrete, and I found this beautiful film that I would like to share with you. It's actually a commercial for a protective hand cream. And this guy will show us perfectly how acid, and in this case it is muriatic acid, how it dissolves concrete.
This is a bottle of muriatic acid used to kill algae in swimming pools. It contains more than 30% hydrochloric acid, so strong that we diluted it by 50%, but still strong enough to dissolve rocks. Now I'm going to place these rocks in my hand and pour this hydrochloric acid over the rocks. Do not try this at home. Not only can this acid cause severe burns, but its fumes are very toxic and dangerous to inhale. We make no claims that SkinMD Natural is a substitute for gloves or adequate protection against any chemical or product that requires glove use for safe handling. If you do need to use any chemical that has a warning label stating glove use is required, then you must wear gloves and cannot substitute SkinMD Natural as a replacement for gloves. The only reason I'm making this demonstration is to show how well SkinMD Natural will help protect your skin from everyday exposure to chlorinated tap water, the harsh ingredients found in most soaps, shampoos, and other cleaning agents, pollution, and the common household products you may come into contact with. All these substances strip away your skin's natural protective layer. All I'm feeling is the warmth coming off the rocks as the acid is dissolving them.
So another well-known example of how acid dissolves the concrete is actually found in the series Breaking Bad. Has become quite famous, and some of you might recognize this scene when the science teacher Walt tells his partner Jesse to dispose of a dead body by dissolving it in a plastic container. But instead, Jesse used the bathtub, and then at a certain moment, the whole dead body falls through 2 floors of the building. So, just as an illustration. A next example would actually be this. So most images of atom bombs, they look more or less the same. We're very high above the Earth, in an airplane or far away. We can see the distant curvature of the Earth. An ominous cloud rises above the horizon, billowing out on the top into the shape of an enormous mushroom. Sometimes lightning flashes around its rim. A nuclear explosion has such a large scale that if you see it, you never see any buildings, let alone people. This image is more particular because it is signed actually by the pilot who threw the bomb. Let's see. But interestingly enough, in Japan, there was an image was created for a nuclear disaster. So yet another very dramatic way in which cities are blown away, very much so. After the Second World War, Japan was occupied by the States, and until 1952 there was actually a prohibition of talking about the bombs that were thrown by the Allies on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and so there was no culture, there were no cultural references, there were no books, there was no information basically about what happened. And while in the war, millions of Japanese people died, not only by the 2 atom bombs, but also by the napalm that was thrown on many cities. So then in 1954, Gojira came to the screen. It was one of the first movies that remembered and showed these dramatic happenings. I don't know how much time I have. 4 minutes, okay. So, interestingly enough, the Gojira was really shaped like this. It was a very sweaty guy in a suit. So within the film, actually facts and fiction, they intermingle. So the first scene of the film is actually something that happened in 1954 when the United States yet again tried out another nuclear device in the Pacific Ocean near Bikini. And this device happened to be 5 times stronger than they had expected. So within this tragedy, the Lucky Dragon number 5, which is a Japanese fishing boat, it was covered by fallout. And so when the fishers came back, they of course they knew what was going to happen. And yeah, well, these images were still in the news, and these fishermen were slowly dying of radiation poison. Gojira came to the screens, and actually the first scene is a fisher boat staring at an explosion, waiting for the shockwave to come. And what I would like to show actually is this first movie, Gojira, which was later made many times more in Hollywood under the name of Godzilla. That this was actually a visualization of the explosive blast of this nuclear device, combined with a very slow deterioration that went on, and it's still going on in these cities. And I would like to point you at the very slow destruction that is going on, especially according to modern standards within this film, and how slowly this city of Tokyo deteriorates when Gojira enters the city.
どうやら数寄屋橋方面に向かう模様であります。テレビをご覧の皆様、これは劇でも映画でもありません。現実の奇跡、世紀の怪事件です。我々の世界は一瞬のうちに200万年の昔に引き戻されたのでありましょうか。
The last lemma that I would like to present is actually an example from urban warfare, and it is a way to make complete concrete just completely disappear before your eyes. And so it's actually, I think it has been a boyhood dream, or at least a childhood dream for many years, to be able to do this. So where Superman actually used X-ray vision to look through walls and see what's going on the other side, the Israeli company Camiro developed a device that uses radar. However, it is fair to say that this piece of equipment offers superhuman qualities to the urban warrior. the concrete just completely disappears and shows everything that lays behind.
The Zaver family empowers forces to know the unknown. The Zaver 800 is for the most challenging operations, where high performance and true 3D through-the-wall imaging are critical to mission success. With the Zaver 800 interface, you have an intuitive and detailed situational awareness picture, clearly presented on a real-time integrated display. The 3D view enables the user to effectively track and understand the orientation of multiple moving or non-moving living objects. You take actions on the basis of a targeted reality picture. The top-down view provides rapid information on target location, while displaying details of the static objects so that room layout and structure can be accurately understood. The side view delivers precise information for measuring the height of objects. The history view clearly tracks objects and movement patterns on a calibrated grid. The Zaver 800's rich feature set includes additional indications, views, and menu options, along with recording capabilities for post-mission analysis and debriefing. With a viewing range of up to 20 meters, the Zaver 800 enables standoff operations.
So yeah, that was my short list of 5 lemmas of the list from concrete to less concrete. If you have any questions or arguments or whatever, I'd love to hear it. Yeah, okay, good. So then,
I may ask for a round of applause also for Geert van Meel, please.